Right, you are? Yeah, we're ready.
I'm gonna call the meeting of Region 16 Board of Ed to order for May 13th. Stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Kelly, you wanna call the roll?
Christine Arnold, Priscilla Curtella,
Here.
Ben Canzero, Eric Dye,
Eric Dye here.
Robert Dyer. Here. Nazi Nugent,
Here.
Roxanne Valancourt, Robert Hiscock.
Here. We have a quorum, so we'll continue with the agenda. We do have one item to add to the agenda. It'll be action item number 5, and it will be a vote to approve or disapprove resolution for schools and libraries universal services E-rate for 2021. The resolution authorizes filing of the Form 471 applications for funding for the 2021 and payment of the applicant's share upon approval of funding and receipt of services. If we can have a motion to add that as action item number 5.
Nazir, so moved.
Nazir first,
Second.
Priscilla second.
All right, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, that'll be action item number 5. All right, approval of minutes, April 22nd. Motion to approve.
Nazir, so moved.
Second.
Rob Dyer, so moved.
Is there a second? Nazir?
Second, Nazir.
Any discussions, additions, deletions, or anything? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries. Those opposed, motion carries. Town officials, anybody online?
No, we didn't have any questions online today.
No questions, no comments from the public? Okay. If one does come in, we're gonna take it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, correspondence, you have in your packet the distant learning plan survey, the 4th grade departmentalization survey, and letters to the staff and parents regarding updates on closures.
Can I speak for a minute to the 4th grade departmentalization? Okay, so you have the
Yeah,
survey.
please, I was gonna ask about that, go ahead.
Okay, so the survey's in your packet, and what I had
Yeah.
Michelle Rayner do was call Eric Dye, since Eric is chairman of the curriculum committee. And like any other survey, we had some real positive things, and then we had some negative comments. Overall, we think it's something that we wanna move forward to in the future, but we're thinking we wanna hold right now, and I'd like Eric to speak on that, if you don't mind, Eric.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So some of the things that we discussed is really the plan to adjust what we're doing in 4th grade really serves the purpose of our targeted math scores and the math skill for the 4th graders. And it's more of a transition from, going from 4th grade to 5th grade. And when I spoke to Michelle, some of the things that we talked about for kind of looking at next year and not knowing what things are going to happen in the fall or the winter or the spring, knowing the change that this curriculum would bring would really be a lot for any normal year. And not knowing how next year is going to look, really the decision to postpone it, not cancel it, but postpone it, allow for more time for teachers and administrators to plan and really sharpen what they're going to be doing the following year so that it can be successful, and also make sure that the community has a clear idea of what it's going to look like. There were certainly some question as to if next year's the year to do it, given the situation of the pandemic. Because we want this to be successful, and if we are asking teachers to do this new thing in a pandemic, which is also, causing a new environment for teaching, it may not be the most successful environment for either, and we really want our students to be successful. And I think for this new curriculum component, having removed the variable of the pandemic would be the best option. And so we talked about a number of different things. But I think that really is the real takeaway for being able to have the thoughtful plan be successful with what may or may not happen.
Great.
So your suggestion is what, Eric?
To postpone the change for 1 year, and so that will give an additional year of planning for the teachers and administrators, and it will remove the variable of the pandemic for this new plan. So postponing it for 1 year.
So we're gonna hold a
Okay.
year and then, revisit it next year.
We're gonna communicate.
Okay, can I comment?
Go ahead.
Priscilla? I guess what bothers me is, I'm the old lady on the board, and our kids lived through this in the 70s and 80s. We used to start this in 3rd grade. Now, maybe it wasn't with the same intensity that we are now doing it in the 5th grade and now preparing to do it for the 4th. But I remember when these kids got into 3rd grade, this was a big deal. They changed, they had, certain teachers with the subjects, and I thought it went over great. And I know there are some people that didn't always agree with it, but that's as in anything else. So because this is something and we're still moving forward, I hate to see that it gets postponed for a year because we're already doing it in 5th. And I don't know if it's going to be such a great hardship to bring it down to 4. Michelle, what do you really feel about that?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question, Priscilla. I mean, I think that if we removed the variable of the pandemic and what has happened for families and for kids with, the time that we've been in this, I think that we would absolutely be moving forward because our 5th grade departmentalization model has been highly successful. And we did do a lot of background work with this to create this particular model for 4th grade, which is a little bit different than the 5th grade model. So it is a difference. But with that being said, and in reviewing the comments that came back and in looking at the survey data, half of the parents were in support of the model. And then when you looked at the other half of the parents that responded, approximately 23% of those parents said they were in support. However, they felt that it would be best to postpone, given what has happened this year.
I could see if for some reason we have to continue distant learning from, say, September to December, I could see then that we do not then put it, into motion. But if we actually are going to occupy the classrooms, I really would like to see this put into motion.
Priscilla, can I interject?
Sure.
All right, I have a mixed opinion, but I agree with what you said. It was a nice thing for kids. You started fostering some independence, them doing some movement from one class to the other. It's also good for teachers. Elementary teachers are overworked. They have to be experts in every subject, math, science, social studies, reading. So this gives us the ability for a teacher to really hone in. I think what we've been through this year and what we're going through right now, I think, in hindsight, I don't think we have any other option but to postpone it. I can assure you it'll be at the forefront, and maybe we'll do some work in January and February and having kids practice movement. But I think with the uncertainty that we're in right now, and I was not impressed with, not impressed is a wrong word, but I was not confident after the opening conversation about some of the options for schools. I think we have no choice, Priscilla, but to wait. But it will stay at the forefront of a new initiative, I can assure you that. And Eric spent quite a bit of time on the phone with Michelle, they hashed it out. I think we should support that position and postpone it.
Okay.
Yeah, this is,
Can I ask a follow-up question for Michelle, if possible?
Sure.
So, Michelle, you said the 5th grade implementation of this model has been successful. I'm just wondering, what metrics are you using to determine whether or not this will be successful in the 4th grade?
Well, I think feedback that we've received from the vast majority of our parents, and again, this is through principals and through teachers, have felt that the model is a good one because it prepares students to move forward for the middle school. I think the feedback from teachers themselves, as Michael mentioned earlier, one of the biggest pieces with this is that a teacher becomes a specialist in their area. And as we're moving forward with a new math curriculum in the upcoming year and with NGSS moving forward, and with the continued demands of literacy and ensuring that students are able to read and write proficiently, all of those things together with one teacher, as Priscilla mentioned and Michael mentioned, it's a lot.
Well, let me interject too, Michelle. Robert, the how we evaluate that will be 2 or 3 years down the road as well. If that cohort of kids, we see an increase in their performance, if we see a reduction in the following years of kids in tier 2 and tier 3. So in order to evaluate this, it's gonna take us a couple of years to decide, hey, yes, this has been beneficial, and no, it hasn't been. Our initial feedback from the 5th grade from teachers is they feel stronger and more confident and better prepared to teach the discipline. Kids like the movement, parents have been positive. So that's what we're going after when you ask how are we evaluating it.
And
Right, I just want to be clear, the only reason I'm asking is because I'm anticipating, well, number one, we're not having state testing this year, so we can't really look, we're not gonna be able to look at cohort data, right?
Well, we have
And then next
iReady,
year-
we have iReady testing, and we are doing assessments in 21. We'll be able to assess if our kids are doing better or worse. But I think this year's almost a year where you're remote learning, kids, there's gonna be different struggles to assess kids being home versus being in class and having that face time with teachers.
Yeah, I just want to caution about making a hasty decision to not go forward with the program next year based upon data that we're looking at because it might be skewed. That's all.
So I don't think that we're looking at the data and making decisions, so we're really looking at what environment is gonna be the most successful, and then looking at the uncertainties of the pandemic and how that might affect distance learning, and we're thinking about how the school year might start with a new curriculum program with distance learning. That would really be really difficult. And so I think it'd be most successful in a typical year. And so were the pandemic not something that we're all dealing with and talking about, and we could have this meeting face to face, then of course I would fully support it moving forward. That's not the case, and I really do want this to be successful. And this curriculum change really is also targeted on one of the board schools for increasing some of the math scores in particular. And so I think that this really does a lot of what the board is asking for, and by being mindful of what next year might look like, I think it's the best choice really to hold off and plan ahead, not knowing what next year is going to look like with the pandemic. So that really was the driving decider for me.
Thank you, Eric. I just want to point out, Roxy, are you on? You logged in? Rox?
She was not here.
She emailed and said she was on.
She emailed and said she's on, so I think you need to record her that she's present. Maybe she's on mute, Kelly.
Oh, okay.
She just sent us a couple emails. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, Mrs. Nazir, just going back to the topic, personally, I would agree with postponing a year based on the pandemic where we are right now in the situation. And I agree with giving it maybe a trial or something in January, February, how things back to normal, hopefully. Then we'll evaluate at that point and plan it for the following year.
We'll keep everybody in the loop, and you're gonna know as well as us as to how things are progressing next year. Ben's on as well, Kelly.
Thank you.
Okay, it wasn't a formal action item.
It's not an
anyway.
action item. It's not an action item.
If there's any further comments or discussion, I would concur with Eric and his committee and with the administration as well. I also don't want to be implementing any new craziness on top of the craziness that we don't know what we're going to be faced in the fall. Read this morning's paper about what they're talking about in Thomaston already in terms of the potential impact of social distancing in the schools. It's not a time to be trying to implement new programs and ask our teachers to take on the additional jobs of trying to do that. All right, any other questions regarding correspondence? All right, if not, we'll move to the treasurer's report. Ms. Z?
Yeah, balance as of today is, of the general fund is $7,122,691.52. Tonight's invoices total $1,181,546.55. General fund, $1,181,546.55. Federal and state grants, 0. Adult ed, other grants, athletic fund, 0. Capital non-recurrent, 0.
Any questions for Ms. Z? All right, the student reps, I don't know if Gavin
Emma,
is here.
Emma,
Emma's doing homework.
yeah, Emma has an AP exam, and I didn't hear from Gavin, so Gavin, are you on?
No?
Okay,
no
report. She had an AP exam today.
Right, she's got, I saw that email.
Mhm.
Exemplary people programs?
Yes, I just wanna recognize, Regina, the principal of Laurel Edge Elementary School, her first grade teacher Nancy Bernard, first selectman Jerry Smith, the entire volunteer Beacon Falls Fire Department, and the, Bert Enriquez, who is our, state police officer. They had a parade for Laurel Edge. It lasted 3 hours and it went wonderful. So, I think they did a great job. I think the families were appreciative. So I just wanna do maybe what the kids call a shout out,
Okay,
to those members of our.
sounds good to me.
community.
All the feedback I've seen.
And all the
on social
teachers that
media has
participated.
been very positive.
Yes.
Okay, your update, Michael.
All right, my update's a little lengthy, but I do wanna go through it. A lot of it is in our April 28th letter to staff and April 28th letter to families and students that you had. But as a summary, a couple important items. One, the board can wait until our audit to decide on the capital non-recurring in January of 2021. I wanna recognize, as I said, Laurel Edge Elementary School for Tuesday, May 12th, the parade. PES will be having their parade tomorrow, May 14th at 2 p.m. We expect to receive state guidance on summer school and extended school year on the 15th, and more information on school recommendations for reopening in the fall at the end of the month. The Board of Ed, we are making our donation to the senior class, and we're to support the balloon fundraiser with the PTO. We had a couple, virtual meetings, and that's what they felt would be helpful, and so that's where the $1,500 is going to go to start our contributions to the senior class. The high school handed out all caps and gowns on May 7th to seniors. There were a few, I think maybe 12 weren't handed out. I know Kurt was delivering some to homes, so our kids now do have their caps and gowns. We're presently holding professional learning for our staff, K through 8, on Monday and Tuesday, June 8th and 9th, and this is for our new Bridges curriculum, K-5, and our illustrative math program, 6 through 8. Teachers will be returning to their schools at the end of May and through the last week of June. We're gonna follow social distancing protocols, masks, but we're gonna have them come at assigned times. Our teachers wanna get into their schools, clean up their classrooms, and we're also gonna have some parent pickups, so we're beginning to organize that. I saw some of them come in today. I think the middle schools are to start first around May 29th, and the end of the year pickups for the elementaries and the high school will follow as well. The schools are creating their own schedules for that. They're just gonna keep district office in the loop. I'll also be reaching out to our nurses tomorrow, and they're gonna be scheduling pickups for medications that are at the schools. Unfortunately, we did have a day to clean up a lot of the lockers and stuff, but it was not enough time to bring closure to the end of the school year for classrooms and our staff, so we're working arrangements on that. Steve Martoni is presently creating a spreadsheet to inventory our masks, gloves, and et cetera. We did put in some significant orders for masks, not just cloth masks that we want to give all our staffs, but the standard masks, and we're trying to order gloves, but they've been on back order for about 2 months. We just want to be prepared in anticipation of the fall, if we're gonna have to have PPE equipment, so we're trying to obtain some of that. We did have some of our support staff reporting back to work this Monday, the 11th, And on the 18th, we'll have different non-certified staff returning to school as well, with social distancing and safety protocols in place. Our custodians will be coming back, our maintenance department's coming back. A lot of our head secretaries have been in already. So we're starting to move back into schools in separate areas. We're not congregating or gathering, but we're able to do work that needs to be done there. We did sign with Power Station, and we are gonna have a virtual graduation for the high school. On the agenda tonight, we do have some dates that we're gonna start if executive orders change and we could have graduation. On May 19th, we're gonna be going out to Woodland, a number of us, and we're gonna be recorded with our speeches. Students are gonna be involved as well, so we did start the process with that. I also found out today that we are gonna be selecting a new teacher of the year for the 2021 year, so I'll be reaching out to Michelle Myers to put that committee together so we could select someone. Unfortunately for Megan Gary, it was a difficult year. I know she's been doing some virtual stuff, but everybody's been affected as a result of that. We will be talking tonight about having the board make an action item for the July 21st to have a live graduation, live eighth grade promotion ceremony for Long River Middle School, and then the 23rd to have a ceremony for the high school. We were concerned that if we are not allowed to hold those ceremonies, that's why we contracted to do it virtual. We didn't want to lose the opportunity to have something for our seniors. So we are moving forward with the virtual graduation, but if we can have a graduation on July 23rd, we think that's the best time, because they're having their prom on the 24th, we would assume all kids are gonna be local. We also had our admin meeting today, virtual today, and I wanted to give some updates on that. As an administrative group and the instructional leader of the region, I think we had a good meeting today, and we talked about summer school and sending letters to teachers and aides to see who'd be interested in summer school, if we are able to do it. We've talked about computer returns, cleaning schools. We're also gonna be bringing to the board in June, allocating some money to pay staff to come back possibly a half day early, so that we can have an orientation for 6th grade students and 9th grade students. Unfortunately, we weren't able to have our 5th grade exercises at Penn Field and do some of the activities we can so that they can transition. So we wanna do something for our incoming 6th graders and incoming 9th graders. More information will follow on that. And we're also wrapping up our professional development calendar. One other thing that we're gonna be talking about is a welcome back breakfast. Now, we're kind of in a holding pattern right now because we don't know what the state guidelines or recommendations are gonna be for next year. So I'm kinda asking everyone to plan as though we're coming back, we're gonna have summer school, we're gonna have extended school year, and we're gonna have our professional development with a breakfast, but it may not be a possibility, so as time goes on 2-week basis, I'm trying to update our Region 16 community and our staff and let them know where we are. That's kind of where I am with everything. If I've missed something or a question you have, although this generally isn't our protocol, would it be all right, Priscilla and Bob, if I kind of open it up, if there's questions that people are wondering right now? Because of the situation we're in?
A lot of stuff.
Well, there's a lot going on, I wanted people to kind of have a handle on it.
Michael, this is Rob. Have you gotten any guidance as far as the thought process? You mentioned PPE for the fall. Have you gotten any guidance from the state as far as what it would look like
No.
in the fall? Should we go back?
No.
So you
No, they had their initial,
I figure it could be on the safe side to order PPE?
we've ordered it. We've ordered masks, and we had trouble getting some, so I did order a cloth mask for everyone. It was a little pricier, but we have one for all our staff. We've ordered the hand sanitizers for the kids in small bottles. That's been 3 months, we still haven't received it, Robert. We don't have guidance yet. The state is developing a regional reopening planning framework where 6 superintendents will be involved, central office, parents, so they are putting those regional committees together to open. There's a lot of proposals or discussions, but there is no guidance at this point. I think it's gonna come much later in the month, even possibly June, and I think it's gonna be decided by what the numbers look like in the state for if the hospitals, or if COVID, if there's a resurgence. I think that's gonna dictate what takes place. So I think although we're all eager to plan and know, I think we have, 45 days the earliest before we have any insight. So we as a region are ordering and planning. My feeling is if we spend $7,000 to $10,000, it's not gonna be wasted if we have this stuff here. So that's what we're doing.
Sure. Thank you for your foresight. Do we have to make any policy changes with respect to the dress code or anything like that to require
No.
masks to be worn in school?
The only change that we will make in June, possibly, will be a curriculum change on the Board of Ed policy on kids that are entering the junior year have to take SAT, English and math. It was an effort that we've done and have been successful with, so that kids take that, but it's based on the PSAT score, so without having the PSAT scores, we're gonna rewrite that policy probably for June. That way it stays a board policy on how we do scheduling, but other than that, there's nothing else we wanna change yet. And I will consider bringing a calendar change to the board when we have more information. So it's probably just gonna be the calendar and possibly, courses that you needed data on. Other than that, there's nothing for us at this point, Robert.
Thank you.
Anything else from Michael?
Yes, hi, this is Roxy.
Hi, Rox.
Okay.
Michael, in regards to the current distance learning, what is the last day, I guess of school?
The last
for
day,
that?
the last day of new learning is June 5th. The last day of school is the 12th. What will happen the week of the 8th is teachers will be available for parents, they'll be available for makeup work with student, they'll be collecting data. So they will be working, but they will not be introducing new information. And each principal will be sending out that information on Schoology to parents in the upcoming week.
Thank you.
So new learning will end on the 5th, and then the week of the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, teachers are gonna be available. They might be meeting with their kids, saying goodbye. They might be having some small celebrations, but there will be no new learning or mandatory meetings that last week.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anything else on school closure updates, or anything else on your report, Michael? You
No,
want-
I think I emailed it, and I think I went through most of it. I tried to be as thorough as possible, because I know there's a lot of unknowns.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions from the board? If not, we'll move to the action items. Need a motion to ask to transfer $460,000 as it pertains to school closure into contingency account.
So moved, Nazir.
Roxy, second.
Okay, discussion.
So, this is Rob. I have a question. Is the $460,000 that we're moving, is this the entirety of the savings for, the anticipated savings for the closure? Or is this just a portion?
This
Because I
is,
remembered a different amount when we first talked about it a couple of months ago.
this is the second transfer, and Tony, you could correct me wrong, as a result of the closures. We'll still have some additional overage items, at the end of the month. Tony, am I right with that?
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah, so it's around $780,000, Robert, as a result of the closure. Tony, is that accurate as well?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
where do we stand on our projected surplus?
Great question. Tony?
To answer your question, I can comfortably say at this point that I believe we will have $1 million surplus at the end of the year.
All right, so if we were to plan on taking up to 400,000 ourselves for capital non-reoccurring, the comfortable figure that we could give to the towns would be to budget as revenue, would be their portion of their percentage of 600,000.
Well, let me answer that. We're projecting, and this is only a projection.
Right,
That will be
I wanna be clear on that to everybody, this is just a guesstimate.
Well, that's why I don't think we wanna talk about revenue, Bob, respectfully. I
I'm
don't think
talking
that's.
to the town, as to what the town might.
Here's my feeling, and me and Tony have we went through it again yesterday. We realized around $700,000 as a result of closures. We're gonna be right around our $400,000 number. We've really reduced that over the years with our overages. So we're fairly comfortable to say that we're about $1 million with overages. That's an estimate. I've already said or spoken after our legal opinion that we don't have to decide until January of next year if we take 1% or if we take anything for capital non-recurring. So the boards can anticipate the towns that we're probably gonna be $1 million overage, and that we can remove 200,000 or 400,000. They know their percentages from that point forward, and I would leave it at that. I don't think this board wants to engage any further with that.
Yeah, no, I'm just looking at the amount that's left over, and the towns can do with it what they want, and that they can anticipate that as coming back to them.
All right, you have that action item on the table.
Okay, any further questions regarding the motion to transfer?
No.
All set? All right, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries.
Who was the first and second motion on that?
We did first.
Nazi was first,
Nazi,
with Roxy.
Roxy.
and Roxy. Okay, thank you.
All right, action item 2, allow the superintendent, director of finance to make end-of-year budget adjustments as necessary within the 2019-2020 budget limits. It's a motion we pass every year.
Nazir, so moved.
Second?
Rob, second.
Okay. Discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries. All right, again, action item 3, an act to set graduation date for Woodland Regional High School for July 23rd, 20, pending state executive order. Someone will make that motion?
So moved.
There's seconds out there?
Second, Nazir.
Roxy, second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
So basically,
I thought we contracted with Power Station. What's the virtual graduation going to look like?
The virtual graduation, they're putting together a video. All the people that would have spoken will give their speeches, valedictorians, and then each student would have a certain amount of time where their picture's there and they could do something or say something, and it goes to music. That's the virtual. So in case we don't have the July graduation, they have something to remember their graduation from, Robert.
so
I got
basically,
you, thank you.
so
So will
basically,
it be handed out, like a drive-up fashion or no?
I don't know yet, Robert.
Okay.
so basically there will be a graduation on the 23rd. It just depends whether it's live or virtual.
No.
Virtual will be on the 12th.
Virtual's the 12th, but they're gonna have a disc or a flash drive, and they could even order it and send it to grandparents if they want. That's gonna be done for the 12th. What we're hoping is the governor allows us in July to have a live ceremony.
So it could be two of them.
So we're hoping, yeah, they have two graduations. But the problem is if we don't do the virtual now, and we don't get the July ceremony, our kids will be left with nothing.
We could end up with
Right,
2,
right.
Yeah,
so that's fine.
I hope they do. I
Yeah,
hope they can.
any other discussion on that? All right, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those
Aye.
opposed? Okay. And action item 4, to set promotion ceremony for Long River Middle School for 7/21/20 pending state executive order.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second, Rob Dyer.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that motion carries. And we added, action item 5, the motion to approve the resolution for, schools and library universal services E-rates for 2021. If someone would move that, it was added to the agenda earlier.
So moved.
Moved in second. Okay, discussion?
Ben C, second.
Okay, thanks, Ben.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, motion, anybody opposed? Motion carries. All right, that concludes our action items. Tony, you're on.
Thanks, Bob. Happy to report that as of May 4th, we have settled with All-Star at a sum of $399, $324. Drivers were returned to work as of that date and are now being paid for their fully regular scheduled hours. As we talked about earlier in the meeting, there was a request to transfer $460,000 to contingency, the majority of which did come from those transportation funds that were unspent. Anthem has advised us, I don't know if you guys remember, but earlier in the year, I let you know that Anthem was going to be rolling out a self-service system for our employees. They have pushed that back now, and they will update us when they have a new date in mind. And finally, Food Services has started serving 7 days a week worth of meals, 2 on Monday, 2 on Wednesday, and 3 on Friday. This helps to keep our students fed and also brings in some additional revenue to offset some of the expenses of that program during the closure.
I have a question on that. How are we getting revenue for that program?
State reimbursement. So we're losing about 33,000 a month.
Right.
But last month, we did bill out somewhere around that area, so the state is reimbursing us. So we're hoping that, it starts saving us a little more money, it's not costing us that much each month. Is that correct, Tom?
That's absolutely correct.
I saw revenue for that, and I didn't know where it was coming from, that's all.
I think it's the CARES Act it's called.
Whatever it is,
CARES Act.
you answered the question.
Anything else, Tony?
No, that's all I have for tonight.
Can I ask a question, Priscilla?
Go ahead.
Going back to the very first thing, so our savings from the busing contract was the $399. What exactly was the savings?
Percentage-wise?
So the savings at this moment, Priscilla, I requested to transfer $330,000 to contingency. There's another 40 or so thousand in the transportation account right now because we still have to cover diesel and propane expenses through the end of the year. So I didn't clear out those accounts yet, knowing that we're now going to have to pay for that.
Okay, thank you.
Tony, what percentage did they settle on?
That's a very complicated question because it's not only the contracted rate, but we also pay for bus monitors for special ed students. It does come out to about 82% of our daily rate for our regular contracted bus services, but then we also have the monitors on top of that we have to pay for.
Okay. Can I also, this is less of a question and more of a comment related to one of your points in there, but I would like to thank the lunch staff. My son it's a semblance of normalcy that he's appreciated throughout this. He's asked for school lunch and I go and get it for him, and the girls there have done an amazing job. So I just think they should be recognized formally.
Thank you for saying that.
I mentioned them in my letter that went out to the community as well. And we as a board also gave them a little token of our appreciation, a little gift 2 weeks ago. So I agree with you 100%, Robert.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, any other questions for Tony? All right, any old business?
I just wanted Matt to check to see if any questions came in while we were on Matt. Take just a minute, Bob, before we move.
Nothing.
Nothing, okay.
All right, old business. New business.
Just as placeholders for new business on the 13th, we'll have discussion about my evaluation. We may talk about the school calendar, we'll talk about the SAT prep courses, and we'll talk about where we are with the food service program at that point.
Okay.
How about, can we add for the next, I'm sorry, we're not on the next item.
Yeah, that good. I can't hear you.
Yeah, I don't.
Sorry, Robert, you echoed. Can you repeat that?
I thought we were on the items for the next agenda. I was just gonna ask if we can add something, but go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if we have started, I saw earlier in the reports that we've signed some, Mr. Martoni has signed some contracts and got some work started. Do we need to schedule a facilities meeting for an update on that, or do you not think that there will be sufficient work?
No, let's
completed by the
do, no, I
warrant,
think there is. They've already started gutting the HVAC units on the science, and let's do a facilities on the 13th. We'll do it an hour before, 6 o'clock.
Sounds good.
I think it's a great idea. We have a lot going on right now.
Yeah, I was gonna ask for the status when it
Yeah,
comes to
that'll be
facilities.
great. We'll do a facilities. I'll send it to you in advance.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Most of our work's at Long River, so, it'll be a good meeting. Thank you, Robert. Great point.
Anything else for next board meeting?
So that's not really, an agenda item. It's gonna be a
No.
curriculum, it's a facilities committee meeting.
Right, that's fine.
Okay.
Any other information?
But on what date?
The 13th, isn't that our next board meeting?
17.
17th. So,
17th.
Okay, okay.
Sorry.
Committee updates.
Matt, do we need to do a recap for technology at the end of the year by that meeting, or we'll do it after?
We could do it at your leisure, whenever you're
Or
ready,
you
we
can
can
send us
talk
a
about
report,
it.
whatever, do a few minute report if you want, or,
That's fine. Yeah, whatever the board's looking for, I'm happy to help.
or do we want?
You guys would have to do a separate one. You'd
Yeah.
have to send a separate Google Meet out.
Okay, we could do it before one, I mean, we did it with facilities at the last one.
All right, so we'll do a technology, a separate meeting, and people can go into whichever one they want.
You got it.
Okay,
Should be quick, just status update basically.
do a 6:30.
All right, what's
You
the,
guys could have this room too, after the meeting.
Michael, sorry, one thing there, I think I'm on both committees. I don't know if we can make it for the same time.
We'll start facilities at 6, and then we can even do this 6:30, it should be quick. Just more a status update if there's anything needed.
Why don't,
Yeah, because I think Nazee's on both as well.
I am.
combined meeting? You do it as a combined committee meeting, right?
Matt could submit a report, if you have questions, we could
Yeah,
ask towards it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, what's the status of negotiations?
Jessica Rivers, haven't gotten any feedback yet.
Okay. And do we have to adopt a new job description, or is it written? Do we have to adopt that maybe on the 17th also?
Yes,
All right, put that on the agenda then.
yeah.
All right, anything else, any other committee updates? Anything else for the good of the order? No questions from the public?
Nothing from the public.
All right, so I'll take a motion to adjourn then.
So moved.
Thank you, guys. Have a great night.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
That's-